Hello and welcome. My name is FM, and if you've seen any of the other videos on my channel, you'll know that I love a show called Wordgirl. Wordgirl may seem like a kid's show, but it's way more than that. This is an iceberg video about Wordgirl, so if you don't know what Wordgirl is, let me explain it to you. Wordgirl is a PBS kids show about a superhero who loves words and defining those words. It ran from 2007 to 2015. It had a total of 8 seasons with 130 episodes. It was written by Dorothea Gilliam and produced by Soups to Nuts Animation. If you remember the show at all, then you'll know that it was aimed at children, specifically between the ages of 4 and 9 years old. Now, if you know me personally, you'll know that around 2007, I was not 4 to 9 years old. I was actually 12 years old. When you're about that age, you don't like watching shows that are considered for children or baby shows, right? For me, when I watched Wordgirl, I never once felt like it was a baby show or a show for kids who were younger than me. In fact, I thought it was a show exactly aimed at me because the writing was spectacular. It is no exaggeration to say that this show, Wordgirl, was made for people of all ages to enjoy. Even when an episode wasn't very good or was a little bit too predictable, the witty banter between the characters always made the show fun to watch. It's easily a show you can put on for your kids, and it doesn't dumb down anything and treats your child like an actual person with a working brain. So, since this is an iceberg video, let me explain what an iceberg is. Iceberg charts are charts about one or more topics with different layers of the iceberg, symbolizing the deeper, darker aspects of a given topic. Of course, this being a kids show, it doesn't get too dark. However, there are possibly some mentions of crimes and things that might not be suitable for all audience, so viewer discretion is advised. With that out of the way, let's dive into the depths of the Wordgirl Iceberg, courtesy of Westing 1992 on Reddit and BunnyHunter from Discord. Tier 1. Fair City. So this is not an entry on the original iceberg. I will be adding some stuff from time to time that are things that I have discovered along the way while I was researching for this iceberg. Now, you may be looking at me and wondering, how did you not know the name of the city that the whole show takes place in? And I'm here to tell you, there are some things I just did not pay attention to. What can I say? I was 12. So, like I said, the name of the city in which Wordgirl takes place is called Fair City. The wiki for Wordgirl says that the town of Fair City is based off of Boston, Massachusetts, due to some of the similar landmarks that they have compared to each other, such as the John Hancock Tower and Fenway Park. Also, based on the way that the characters speak, it is safe to assume that this show takes place somewhere in the United States. Planet Lexicon. This is the planet from which Wordgirl and Captain Huggyface hail. It is depicted in the opening sequence as a yellow planet with a red star and 2 rings. It appears to have 3 moons and a nearby asteroid belt. Stephen Boxleitner is the real name of the main series villain, Dr. Two Brains. He was a scientist and a good guy with whom Wordgirl often visited and was friendly with. One day during an experiment, he fused with a mouse brain. I do have to mention that the dark aspect of all of this is that the mouse brain, Squeaky, is quite powerful and is the sole reason why Dr. Two Brains is evil in the first place. We see glimpses of Dr. Boxleitner coming out every once in a while during the show's run, and it is honestly sad to see how trapped he is in his own body. It is seen in the shorts how Squeaky and Dr. Two Brains fight over control, but that aspect was left out of the show proper later on. Although cheese do be bussin', I don't know if I'd be evil for it. Celebrity voice actors. Wordgirl has a plethora of famous voice actors that star and guest star on the show. Celebrities such as Kristen Shaw, whom you may know as Mabel from Gravity Falls, or in Bob's Burger as the youngest daughter, whose name I cannot remember right now, and Jane Lynch, whom you may remember from Glee, along with the main cast, who are also big celebrities in their own right, such as Tom Kenny, whom you may recognize as SpongeBob SquarePants and the Ice King from Adventure Time. Pretty Princess and the Magic Pony Power Hour. Pretty Princess is a show within the show that Becky loves to watch. It is Becky's absolute favorite show, and Becky even cosplays Pretty Princess for Halloween. There are segments of the show as an interlude between the Rise of Miss Power episodes that happen much later in the show's run. By the way, I did not mention before, but Becky is Wordgirl's real identity. Or maybe Becky's real identity is Wordgirl? It's confusing. But just so you know, Becky and Wordgirl are the same person. I will be using the names interchangeably, just so you know. May I have a word? Yes, you may. Today's word is strange. That's the word I would use to describe this entire segment. It's strange to explain because it's basically a game show about the show Wordgirl, but it also exists within the show itself. So let me try and break it down. All of Wordgirl seems to exist in this weird dimension where the narrator can interject whenever he wants, and the interaction within the various characters and the narrator has vast amounts of knowledge, plus the hero is abnormally friendly with the villain characters. They share almost a business-like relationship, if I had to quantify it. It's as if they're co-workers or something. So the aspect of May I Have a Word is they take the words that have been said in the show, the narrator gives you the words during the title sequence, and then they define them. And every episode or so, one of the kids wins. Sometimes, every once in a while, none of the kids win, and sometimes all the kids win. And then by the end of the show, the segment comes back and Captain Huggy Fates presents the prize to whoever was the winner or whatever the prize was if everybody ended up losing. The host is, of course, Bo Handsome, and if you've seen videos on my channel, then you know I don't like that guy, but he is nevertheless the host of May I Have a Word. So the concept of the May I Have a Word segment, it might be in a similar universe as the show itself. So let me know if the whole existence of that segment makes sense to you. And if so, please explain it, because I'm coming up with nothing. I assume it's just one of the many aspects of the show, shows great writing, that it's in the show and it's also not in the show at the same time. ToBecky. ToBecky is the ship name for Becky Botsford, Wordgirl, and Toby McAllister III. There are a lot of fans in the show who are die-hard ToBecky fans. And again, if you've seen my videos on my channel, you'll know that I like the idea of ToBecky. It's mainly because enemies to lovers is like my thing. However, I realize they're just children, so enemies to friends is also something I really like. So that's why I like ToBecky. Many people in the fandom do like ToBecky, but there have been people I've seen really hate ToBecky. So there's all kinds of people in the fandom. If you like ToBecky, that's great. If you don't, that's also great. The Rise of Miss Power. Miss Power was the antagonist for the 4-part movie from season 4 with the same name that spanned across episodes 14 and 15. In this episode, it is revealed that Miss Power has all the same abilities as Wordgirl, but can use them better since she is a fully grown adult. Initially, she was a good guy, but spoiler alert, she wasn't a good guy, and she wanted to dominate the world. Miss Power had a weirdly negative influence on Wordgirl at first, and I really like this episode because it showed Becky acting like a kid, and kids are impressionable. If they see someone they think is cool, they'll follow them, even if they're not really cool in the end. And it was kind of refreshing to see Becky acting like a kid instead of the sort of stuck-up like person that she is sometimes. So this episode is going to come back later in the Iceberg, so keep that in mind for the later parts. Kid Math. In episode 12 of season 5, we meet Kid Math, who hails from the planet Hexagon. I don't know who names these planets, but we need to talk. So Kid Math, as you've seen from one of my videos on my channel, Kid Math figures out who Wordgirl is so immediately. In fact, I laugh just thinking about it. So Kid Math's whole storyline is that he doesn't really understand how to be a superhero and how to be a normal person. So Wordgirl, who is an expert at that double life, eat your heart out Hannah Montana, shows him how to be his superhero self and his normal person self, which he called Rex. He also has a little crush on Violet, which is just super adorable. Bonus entry, Chazz. I wanted to add this icon onto the iceberg. Of course, the coolest kid in town, Chazz, needs to be mentioned. Of course, I'm kidding. He is cool, of course, but also he's not cool because of what I will tell you in just a second. So initially, he appeared in the 4th season episode 23, that is called All That Chazz, which is a hilarious title. All this kid does is try to be cool, and for some reason, all the kids love him, especially TJ Botsford, Becky Botsford's brother. And remember how I said it was refreshing to see Becky acting impressionable with Miss Power. Well, the same thing happened with TJ in this episode, except it wasn't refreshing. It made me want to scream because Chazz was one of those cool kids that, yeah, he's cool, but not in the right way. Later in the episode, we find out that Chazz actually doesn't like Wordgirl, and TJ was really conflicted with wanting to be cool, but also he loves Wordgirl, so he was having a hard time that episode. And later, Chazz had the audacity to team up with Dr. Two Brains to try to defeat Wordgirl, which is, I don't know how he went from just not liking Wordgirl to just, I want to defeat her suddenly. But to each their own. The Bee. The Bee is a running gag that shows up occasionally in the background of various episodes of the show. This bee will show up doing the most weirdest things if you can catch it. One example is in Toby's Tricks and Treats, you can see this thing trick-or-treating, and in the episode Robo Camping, you can see it with a tiny little suitcase. So in your next watch of Wordgirl, make sure you keep an eye out for this bee, because you'd never know what it's gonna be doing. Rhyme and Reason. Rhyme and Reason was the last episode of the series, and is also the names of the last villains that appear in the series. If you ask me what happens in the episode, I can only tell you about what happened between Violet and Becky. I don't remember a single thing about these two characters, if we're being honest. If you've seen my channel, then you know about dramatic, groundbreaking conversation between Becky and Violet. I will not be spoiling too much of it here. Go watch that episode, Rhyme and Reason. It is available on pbskidsgo.org. Looking back on this episode, Rhyme and Reason, I didn't even realize it was the last episode either, because it just didn't feel like the last episode to me. It felt like another episode. Although I watched it online, I should have taken that as a sign that it was the last episode, because it did not air on TV. It was only available online. So in the Reddit post where I got this iceberg from, there was a user called Melon the Sprigatito. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name. They say that these particular villains have very little in terms of fan art, and people, not just me, have also forgotten about them. So I don't feel as bad for just completely not remembering. They were not impressionable to me. So make sure to take notes next time you watch Rhyme and Reason and let me know what the heck happens with them, because the only important part of the episode for me was Violet and Becky. Exposition Guy. So at first I thought he was a villain or a superhero, but when I looked it up I was like, oh, that guy? Wow. So this dude is the dude that always runs around and screams help, help. You'll know his face when you see him, and he's always running around telling us exactly what's going on with the villains. He is not Exposition Guy, he's Snitch Guy, because he's always snitching on the villains, and he's always running around going, this isn't the police station, this isn't this, or this isn't that, and everybody's like, no, this is the art gallery. No, this is the sandwich shop. No, this is the jewelry store. Did you know that this guy is neighbors with the Boxleitners? And he has a wife who he didn't recognize one time when he was running around screaming help and giving exposition. He's quite funny, and you'll see in episode 5 season 1 that they do live across the street from the Boxleitners. That's the end of tier 1, so let's go on to tier number 2. Shelly Smalls. Now when you hear the name Shelly Smalls, who do you think of? Put it in the comments below. Who is the first person you think of when you hear Shelly Smalls? That is the real name of one of the main characters of the show. I'll give you 5 seconds. I lied, I'm not going to give you any more time. Shelly Smalls is the real name of the villain Mr. Big. It was revealed in the episode Truth, Revision, and the Lexicon Way, which was in season 3. I was shook. For some reason, I thought he looked like a mark. I never would have guessed he was Shelly, but he's not the only character who has a name reveal later on in the series. A few entries from now, you'll also find out the name of another major character who was always there, but you never knew their name. So I thought it was really interesting to know Mr. Big's real name. Bonus, Dr. Three Brains. Now, Dr. Three Brains, he's a villain that I felt needed to be talked about. So this is another entry that I added to the iceberg. So Dr. Three Brains is Dr. Two Brains' biggest fan. He was supposed to be Dr. Two Brains' replacement when Dr. Two Brains went on vacation. Dr. Three Brains' name is Glenn, and he auditioned to be Dr. Two Brains' replacement. However, Dr. Two Brains got annoyed and said no to Glenn. Of course, Glenn was not taking no for an answer and proceeds to trap Dr. Two Brains and begins to try and outdo his idol in his evil deeds. Brains. As you may have guessed, Wordgirl comes along and stops Dr. Three Brains, and the day is saved. By the way, Dr. Two Brains was able to go on his vacation in the end, which was a cruise he won from a magazine called Dairy Villains Monthly, which raises more questions than answers, for real. Like, what other villains are there that dairy is their main shtick, like Dr. Two Brains? I need to know. Dr. Three Brains does appear in one more episode that is named after him, and it is also the season 1 finale. Maria. Maria is the villain, the energy monster. This name is what the energy monster prefers to be called. Now, you're probably looking at me going, the energy monster can't talk. How do you know what her name is? How do you know what her gender is? How do you know what her pronouns are? There was a helmet made by Dr. Two Brains in the season 4 2-part episode Dinner or Consequences. Of course, once the 2-part episode was over, the helmet was broken. She no longer had the ability to speak. But during the time where she was speaking, she was like, my name's Maria, please call me that. I'm a girl, all that stuff. So I'm happy that she got an identity, but she's still a villain, so she still got defeated by Wordgirl. Bigfoot. From the Iceberg Lord themselves, Westing, 1992. In the comments of the Wordgirl Iceberg announcement video I made, I asked them about the entry Bigfoot because I was not sure what they meant by it, but according to them, it is a creature that appears in the episode Robo Camping and House Arrest. There's a few that appear in the episodes Girl's Day Out, Throws Chuck. It is referred to in the show Sasquatch, and I think that's why I confused it, because in my mind Sasquatch and Bigfoot are two different things, when in reality they're the same thing. So big thanks again to the Iceberg Lord Westing 1992, and remember, staying ignorant is not fine. Sammy Sub. Sammy Sub is a character that appears in the Rise of Miss Power episodes. He is a friend of Chuck, the evil sandwich making guy. Personally, I thought that they were relatives, not friends, because let's be real, how many sandwich headed guys could one town have? Let's talk about it. Comics. Produced by Boom Studios for the Kaboom Foundation, there was a collection of 8 Wordgirl comics made. The art style is really different from what the show had, and they honestly look really cool. I've never had the chance to see any of these comics in person myself, but let me know in the comment section below. Have you seen these comics? Did you get the chance to read them? If so, what were they like? Let me know in the comment section below. Maya and Miguel shorts / The Amazing Colossal Adventures of Wordgirl. So this is a mix of the original Iceberg entry and my own, because to be honest, I got a little confused. The reference to Maya and Miguel in this entry is due to the original Wordgirl short, The Amazing Colossal Adventures of Wordgirl, that followed immediately after the airing of Maya and Miguel. The series began as shorts, and that were titled The Amazing Colossal Adventures of Wordgirl. Take a drink every time I say The Amazing Colossal Adventures of Wordgirl. And the shorts premiered on PBS Kids Go in 2006. The shorts consisted of 30 2-minute-long episodes. And then, 1 year later, the show was fully serialized and is the show we know and love today. Grandolyn Edna May. Grandolyn Edna May is the full name of the recurring antagonist, Granny May. I did not make you guess her name because it's obvious who Grandolyn Edna May is referring to. She's a villain that uses her old lady attributes, like being small, not understanding things, her frailness, in order to commit crimes. Now, my question is, how can the citizens of Fair City, who are constantly attacked by not only Granny May but other villains, be so gullible? In Granny May's defense, her use of her oldness as her villain power is genius. But at the same time, Wordgirl has her work cut out for her. She's doing the Lord's work. Parade balloon. Wordgirl has a parade balloon in various different parades across America. There was one in 2009 for the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Christmas Parade, and one recently at the 72nd annual HEB Thanksgiving Day Parade in Houston, among other children's cartoon characters. It is nice to see Wordgirl is still alive and well in the parade balloon scene. Spanish dub. There was a Spanish dub that was broadcasted to some Spanish-speaking countries, as well as a Spanish dub specifically for the US back when the show was still airing. The show's name, Wordgirl, was translated to Chica Super Sabia. Apparently, the Wordgirl Spanish dub is lost media. You can find the theme song in Spanish on YouTube, but as for the actual episodes, you can only find some on Facebook. The rest are still lost. Interesting notes, in Venezuela, they actually cut the May I Have a Word segment from their broadcast of the show. I wonder if Venezuela feels the same way I do about that Bo Handsome guy. Interesting. If you're from Venezuela, let me know. Let me know if you like Bo Handsome. Flash games. On the Wordgirl mini site at the pbskids.org website, you can find a multitude of Flash games from the series that are still active and playable. Games such as Build a Liar, Huggy Dance, and Maze Mania. Unfortunately, there are some games that are not available anymore. Rest in peace, Chuck's Extreme Sandwich Crusher. And there you have it, my friends. That's the end of part 1 of the Wordgirl Iceberg. Of course, there was a few things that I wish I could have covered better, but I did my best. And let me know in the comment section if there's a couple of things you think I should have said differently or added to, and I will revise it in my next part. Overall, this was a fun video to make, and again, let me know in the comment section what you thought, and I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been FM, signing off.